identify that why, the journey kind of becomes easier, at least for you. Then what society says, what your parents say, what your friends say, it doesn't really leave that kind of impact.
Hello, guys, welcome back to another mind blowing episode of the Jay Thakkar Show. Today, we have a very special guest, Miss Srishti Sharma. She is founder at Game, which is world's first online esports platform, which is building India's first company in space mining. She has also been four-time TEDx speaker, Josh Talk speaker, Young Achiever 2019 awardee. She has also been received award like Indian Icon Leadership 2019, Exemplary Performer of the Year 2019, and Distinguished Women and Entrepreneur of the Year 2019. And also she's been awarded with Asia's Most Innovative Women Entrepreneur of the Year 2020 by Yeforum. She's also listed as Most Successful Female Entrepreneur of the Year 2020, and a many more mind-blowing qualities and achievements by ma'am. It's an honor and pleasure to have you on the show, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Jay. Really humbled with that introduction that you've given. Thank you so much. I'm equally honored. Honor is all mine to be there. I always feel good when I see such young people like you kind of, wanting to make a change with creating such impactful conversations. So I am really impressed. Just, before getting on this call, I was having a look at the video that you had shared me. And I was like, young minds with so much of conviction and clarity as to what they want to do. So honors is all mine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. So, ma'am, please tell us about your journey of entrepreneurship. How did you began your journey, and how did you got this idea to build India's first space mining company and first online esports company? Please, do share some light upon that.
Sure, Jay. So you have kind of gone ahead and given the formal definition of what all I do, but it's never as glorious as it looks on the paper or, when we speak about it. So usually, as you were introducing me, and most of the times I'm introduced by the small achievements that I've had. But today I want to go ahead and talk about actually the failures and what really goes into the process. So my encounter to entrepreneurship began very early. I was 15, 16 years old, a confused person, a confused Indian, school kid who had no idea what she wanted to do. My parents wanted me to be an engineer, mother doctor, while father wanted me to be an engineer, only passed out of an IIT institute. So that was a pressure that I had. But at that point of time, I was just in the space of exploring. So my encounter to entrepreneurship was accidental. And that happened when I failed at the J examination, despite working very hard for it. And that was the biggest failure of my life. For a 15, 16-year-old kid, it's life-taking, it's devastating. So I was like, what do I need to do next? So just for the sake of wanting to compensate for that failure, I started experimenting into various things. I landed at modeling. Worst decision of my life. Again, lost a lot of weight, wanted to kind of make my name and do something to compensate for the recent failure that I've had. Didn't work out. Went to, entrepreneurship. So I started as a social entrepreneur, if you can say it. I started with Project Kilkari, where I saw a few kids begging on the streets, and I thought, okay, let's try to do something with them. And when I saw that few days of, struggle of wanting to kind of getting them admitted into the school could, change somebody's life, that is when I kind of got the hang of it. So that is how I kind of accidentally, started what entrepreneurship. I started interning at startups, and चीजें कुछ समझ तो आती नहीं थी. What is startup, what is valuation, what is funding. 16-17 साल के आप हो, I got admission under economics honors because my board percentage was like decent enough. So till that time, parents को मैंने शांत करा दिया था, चलो that I've got a seat in, in a good course. And yes, so it was all experimentation. And that is when I realized in the process that I'm good at few things. I'm good at leadership. I'm good at maybe understanding a problem, finding a solution, building a product or a service around it. So I think, as they say, entrepreneurship is a journey of self-discovery. It was accidental. But once I realized, more importantly, and the most important aspect, giving all the funny things aside, is that when you see that your actions are able to bring in real life changes, it's crazy. I mean, it feels really satisfying. And that is when I kind of, started building my path into entrepreneurship and started doing few things that I'm doing today. So yeah, that's how it was.
Beautiful, ma'am. Beautiful. So, like today, just before shooting this podcast, I posted a reel about failure, and you began sharing about your journey with your failures. So, like, what's your take on failures? Like, you've said all your failures, major failures, and like, what what kind of learnings would you take from those failures which you have had to be able to take you to the position you are?
Sure, Jay. So right now, I'm still in the process of discovering myself. Thank you so much for believing that kind of I am at some sort of position, but I simply don't believe in that. So I'll tell you what, jab aap- when you encounter failures, now nobody wants to fail. So when you encounter that, and
Hmm.
especially when you worked really hard towards it, and it can be anything. Idea nahi
True.
chala, exam mein fail ho gaye. You was giving this example, paise किसी ने ले लिया or anything of that sort. So when you are in that position of failure, you don't understand that why is it happening with you. You get
Hmm.
demotivated. You get, you start doubting yourself. You kind of, don't
Hmm.
understand why certain things are happening.
True.
But I've learned it the hard way that failures are ultimately very important because you want to
Hmm.
achieve something and you don't get it that easy. So you have to, before you succeed, you have to understand what failing is, because until unless you
Hmm.
don't go through that journey, you will truly not enjoy the essence of being successful at whatever you're doing. So I've
True.
learned it the hard way. And what learned from failures is I've learned almost everything from failures. I had an idea when I was 17. I went to an investor. They thought that it is not sustainable. That is when I understood that sustainability as a factor is very much important when you start
Hmm.
up. Because in case a bigger player come into the picture, you won't be able to survive. So I learned
Hmm.
sustainability through that failure. A lot of times when people used to say that I won't be able to do stuff because I'm a female and I'm young and I'm just fooling around and joking around, that
Yeah.
is when I understood that it's important that I kind of present myself in a better way. So through
Hmm.
failures, don't get demotivated by failures, but try and understand as to why that failure happened. Because trust me,
Hmm.
that failure is actually
True.
trying to teach you something that will be beneficial for you while you're in the process of wanting to do what you want to. So almost
True.
everything that I've learned from failures. I went for funding. I asked for funding when I was 18 years old, and I was thrown out that kuch nahi hai project, work on something better. So in the process
True.
and only after failing, I sat and I thought, okay, what are the things that is not letting me kind of, go ahead in the journey, or why am I failing? And started jotting that down. That becomes the entire learning process, especially for entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
because there's no perfect guide of, how to create a successful startup. Of course, a lot of people say a lot of things, but everybody's journey is very individualistic, and
Hmm.
different things
True.
work for different people. So just remember one thing, that whenever you fail, it's very, very important to fail. Number one. Number two, enjoy failures. And third, when you
Hmm.
fail, just sit down and see that why did I fail. I understood I
True.
failed at modeling and J because that was not something that I was meant to do. I mean, so
True.
that's how it is. I've learned almost everything from failures. Yeah. Learn to embrace. And even if today you say that I am what I am or whatever, I'm nothing. Even today when I go out and I try to present a product, it fails. It fails a lot of time. Day before
Hmm.
yesterday, one of the investors back out from investing in the company. So that's of course a failure. So as and when you
Yeah.
move forward, the scope of failures would increase, but if you want it bad enough, you have to kind of have the strength to be able to face failures. Bang on, just bring it
Hmm.
and let's see where it
Yeah.
goes.
True.
So don't just get, and one more thing, don't repeat same failures. You fail, it's
Hmm.
fine. Learn from it, and then make sure that the next mistake or the next failure is different from what you failed. Because if you're
Hmm.
repeating the same failure again, then I'm sorry, but don't waste your time, or don't be in a
Hmm.
space where you end up being
True.
called a fool. So fail as many times as you want to fail, but learn from it. Learn from it and then move on. And one day or the other, you'll get what you want. That's at least what I have seen in my journey.
True, 100%. Like, like, even I tried to give JEE exam and even I failed terribly. So I can completely relate to
Awesome.
that when you so when we say that, that, yeah, I failed. I tried my level best, but it didn't work out. And it's also like the failure of those kind of exams taught the process of going into that exam taught us how to work hard, how to manage our time.
True.
बिकॉज
Very
अगर
true.
आप JEE के लिए एम ही नहीं करते देन यू वोंट बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट आई कैन इवन वर्क XYZ percentage in my day. And if you know that, if you realize that, okay, I have worked this much time in my day, then I can utilize it to something which I'm more interested in, then I can utilize it in something which I actually want to do. And these kind of learnings makes you understand, like as you say, it makes you embrace the failures which you have faced. And if you do not understand that, then you are more likely to repeat the same mistakes again and again.
True, totally true. I completely agree to that because in JEE you have to kind of devote 15, 16 hours of study. And that is when it taught me to kind of be awake and be at work for 16 hours.
Yeah.
So now if I work for 16 hours, thank you to JEE and other engineering examination that I couldn't clear, that now at least I know how to be up for 16 hours and be at work. So of course, something or the others end up teaching you something. So that's very right.
True, 100%. And like talking about your current startup, about space mining, about uh, online esports platform. So how this idea came into your mind, and how have you built it currently, and what are future plans for that?
Sure, Jay. So currently, I am actively building two companies. One is by the name of Game. Again, very generic, but it stands for Gaming and Multiplayer Esports. So that is Asia's first online esports marketplace. And the idea, all it came to me during the lockdown period in early 2020. Because before that, I was into a healthcare company, and that was a complete physical model. So
Mm.
thanks to COVID-19, we were not allowed to work, everything shut down, and we had to face major losses. And that was the time, again, it was one of the major failures and setbacks that was in the process, because we wanted to launch something, we had worked really hard, but then again couldn't, because since PBR were not working, and it was a very similar model to PBR, where there are big infrastructures and people come, they take a ticket and they sit. So all of that, we were zero the second day when the government didn't allow us to kind of be operational. So that was the time when I saw the setback, and I thought that, okay, if COVID has kind of stopped various segments of businesses to be operational, there's definitely an opportunity where different kind of businesses can flourish. And that was the
True.
exact time where users and people were being more addicted towards phone, entertainment, and gaming. So
Yeah.
that is when I thought that it's an opportunity. And gaming is anyhow a very, very big industry. So to be able to start up in 2020, you have to do something different. So that is when we
Mm.
identified that there was not even a single dedicated esports platform in India or Asia where any user could earn by showcasing their skill. All
Mm.
these available solutions required a high prerequisite, and that is when we kind of went ahead and established this platform. So any gamer between the age of 12, 13 to 32, if you have initial interest into esports but unfortunately don't know how to make a career into it, or if you don't get enrolled into tournaments because you don't have a high certain gaming level, you come to the platform, and with we create dedicated profiles, and through that profile gamification, there's an algorithm that identifies and matches you to the opportunities that are currently available in the gaming space. So that is
Mm.
what we are trying to do. We have created a platform where you can actually earn from your passion, just to simplify it. So that is what game is, and really humbled with the kind of response we've got. Currently, as I speak, we have around 15,000 registered users, and around 2,500 to 2,700 weekly users is what we see, and people are coming. They're kind of understanding as to how can they kind of monetize what their passion is for gaming. Because in India,
Wow.
as I can see you with the headphones. So everybody have their headphones and PS ons, and they're doing something on the mobile. So this is an opportunity where
Yeah.
you can earn by showcasing your skill. Don't just waste your time. Start earning from utilization of that time. So that's what we do at Game. Talking about space mining, a deep tech project. So it's India's first company that we are building in space mining, and we have built a technology that would be launched like a satellite, and it can extract rare earth metals from moon.
Wow.
But then again, before all of this, why is there a need for somebody to get up one morning and say that, okay, let's
Mhm.
go and mine the moon? So I would say
Yeah.
it's a futuristic problem that we have identified. Rare earth metals are the metals that are available in rare quantity. It's suggested by
Mhm.
the name. So these are metals that are used by you and me, but they are in a very rare quantity on the
Mm.
surface of the earth. Helium हो गया, platinum हो गया, silver, gold. So all of us use that, but then again, the quantity is less. So the demand is not going anywhere because the global demand would increase on daily basis while the supply side is questionable. So identifying this problem, it all started as an experiment around 3 years back, with of course my technical director here, Prateek. And that is when we kind of thought, okay, let's come up with some innovative. And it then ended, the research ended with saying that, okay, we'll go and mine the moon. And with the current
Wow.
technology and the team, we thought, okay, this is possible. So yes, we've gone ahead. The prototypes are ready. The technology is built. ISRO has kind of identified our work, so that kind of gives us a good
Wow.
validation that, okay, we are on the right track. So let's see where it goes in the next 10 months to 1 year. We do intend to have the first phases of launch. So fingers crossed. Let's see
Wow.
where it goes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All the very best for
Thank
the
you.
project. All the very best. So, ma'am,
Thanks a lot.
like being a female entrepreneur, especially from India, there are many stereotypes around a female entrepreneur, a women entrepreneur. Some says that it is very, very hard, and some says that there are ways where you can streamline your focus and go ahead with it. So what was your overall experience as women entrepreneur in from India especially?
Um, Sure, Jay. So I never wanted to take it this way because I'm still 24. So, I am not 34, or I didn't start it 20 years back where you see that there's a difference between girls and boys. So fortunately, I come from a family where at least my parents have never differentiated between me and my brothers. And I've also got the opportunities that my brother did. And
Wow.
I would say more than him. So I used to expect the world also to be that fair. So the journey of entrepreneurship, as I've said, is a journey of self-discovery where it is challenging, because you have some idea in mind and you want to go out and make that a reality. So it's challenging, it's difficult. You invest your heart, soul, money, time, everything to an idea. And so the journey, in short, is challenging. But when I had an idea, I went out and I expected the world to be fair to me. And if the idea is good, invest into it, irrespective of whether I'm a girl, boy, trans, whatever. Don't look at that.
Hmm.
But my encounter to real life experiences kind of streamlined for me to kind of talk about these things because I was into the assumption that people would look at me on the basis of merit versus seeing my genders. But going to investors and listening to things like what would happen if you get married or if you have kids, that
Hmm.
is something that as 17, 18-year-old girl you don't think, right? Because
Yeah.
you've not been treated that way.
Yeah.
So that is when I realized that it is a problem. It is still a problem. We do talk about that times have changed. Surely they have. Now more females are going out there making their marks. But even today, there is some sort of inequality within the equality, which is there
Hmm.
for women entrepreneur. And talking about the statistics, so we as India have the third largest startup ecosystem, but yet the women participation rate is less than 9%. So that in itself justifies that the struggles are still there. And I mean, that's the reason. The times are changing. People are now more accepting, but there are some differences. A male entrepreneur would not have been questioned the way I have been questioned, or an investor
Hmm.
kind of thinks as to what the life cycle of the business would be if there's a male partner versus a female entrepreneur. So that happens.
Hmm.
Female entrepreneurs, even today, under the government of India and the schemes that are being provided to women entrepreneurs, they do come under a specific category. They do come under the minority. But the only way to fight it out is, of course, through conversations to kind of make people realize and aware. And that would more importantly only happen when more females will go out and make something happen. Because if I
Hmm.
sit today and
True.
say Nari Shakti Zindabad and nobody goes out and does anything, there's no point, right?
Hmm.
So the
True.
only solution to it is when we'll have more women coming up, talking about their work, talking about their challenges, and doing something remarkable. That is when it will be more generalized. That is when people
Yeah.
will be more accepting towards us rather than me just saying ki karo karo karo. We have to go out and I think do something rather than just sitting. Of course, conversations are an important part of it because until unless you don't identify the problem, you won't be able to find the solution. So yes,
True.
I've had a lot of phases where I've just felt that maybe the journey could have been better if I was a man versus a woman.
Hmm.
But then I made sure that okay, let's try to do something that at least generations after me don't have to face what I have faced. So
Hmm.
that is at least what a
True.
small mission is, something that I'm on right now.
Superb, ma'am, superb. And it's like you also have a very entrepreneurial mindset towards the same problem. Like when you said that if I just sit here and say something Nari Shakti Zindabad, and if there's no women going out there, then how the world will understand that actually women's role in entrepreneurship is equally important as men's role? It's because
True.
like when we like in our in our JEE exam preparation, we see something, okay, this is that, but unless and until we go in the labs and we perform the experiment, we just mug it up and forget after the exam. So
True.
similarly, if we speak, we kind of initiate a thought process. We kind of initiate something in people's brain that okay, there can be a solution into this which I can provide. But unless and until you go forward and take an action and do something about it, and without fearing that okay, it might fail or it might do that, it might do this, because unless and until we do not do it, we do not have guarantee either we are successful or not.
Of course, I think that's the only way to work it out. As you know, as I've said, the conversations are important because that is pretty much needed to kind of change the perspective. But
Hmm.
okay, people understand it, people agree to it. But if we don't have relevant proof, facts, and actions to be supporting the conversation, it
Hmm.
makes no sense. We are entrepreneurs, we are people who want to make a change, and we are not politicians. With due respect to all the politicians, we are not here just to converse and then go back home. We have to
Hmm.
kind of go ahead and make it happen. And the journey is difficult because right now I can sit here and say that, okay, this is what should be done and what not. But the moments and the time in my life when I was being challenged and I was being questioned, it gave me, I mean, even I used to doubt myself that, okay, is it so? Is it that girls cannot do it? Am I taking
Hmm.
it too fast? Is there something wrong with me? Am I not as per what the societal norm is? So these questions are something that you and I would be faced, one day or the other. The questions would change,
True.
but the entire aspect of society questioning you won't change.
Hmm.
So
True.
again, the only solution is that as long as I'm working and I'm proving myself by my work, I'm happy. People say one day they don't, aaj kahenge, kal nahi kahenge, parso kahenge, tarso nahi kahenge. That shouldn't really affect me. So I
True.
think it's
True.
the process that you have to kind of make yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. But yes, actions have to be there because बातें तो चलती रहेंगी, but you have to kind of go ahead and do something to be able to
True.
make people believe in you. I think that's what at least I feel.
True, 100%. It's like I have seen many of my friends. They are like, कि, if I do this, then ये लोग बोलेंगे, ये लोग ऐसा करेंगे, मजाक उड़ाएंगे, this that. And I'm like, even if they do so, they are gonna forget after few days. They are gonna max to max. They are gonna forget after you go and complete your course. You go and complete and get out from the batch, but people don't understand that because people are majorly focused into what am I doing right now, what people will think, will tomorrow I get any obstruction, if yes then I won't do it. But in what I personally suggest to them, and I would also like to know your perspective on the same, is like, for example, if you want to climb the Mount Everest, first you need to be clear where is the Mount Everest. You can go near it, you can at least see the peak where I exactly want to go. You can establish your goal there in life. With similar analogy, you can establish your goal there, and now you prepare the path. Let's say you prepare the path that society is saying that okay, climb Everest from eastern side. You go and start climbing, but due to XYZ factor you fail there. So that doesn't mean that you need to stop climbing the Everest. That means that you may need to start with a new path, maybe from western side, northern side, southern side, a different side. But you do not need to forget your goal which you have set for yourself, because people will come, people will say that okay, eastern side is not good. You are like, okay, let me believe them, let me go and change the path. Or if there's no path available, you can create your own path, and that is a liberty which I think the current society with help of internet is giving you.
True, true, true. While I was listening to this entire thing, one thing is they say ना सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या कहेंगे लोग. So it
Hmm.
happens.
Yeah.
Uh, it's totally up to you. You fix a goal, and more importantly, with due respect to everybody, the people who are telling you that certain things cannot be done, and who are the ones who are deciding the future for you.
Hmm.
पहले देख लो that what is it that they have done. They would accept your parents and the close ones, the people who care for you,
Yeah.
the societal and the pressure that we kind of take on ourselves. I don't even
Hmm.
think that's real. You know why? Because your career, whatever your failure, can just be a gossip table conversation for them. They'll talk about it
True.
for 2 minutes and then it will be gone. So
True.
just for that 2 minute conversation, which is irrelevant and is not even dependent on you, why do you
Hmm.
kind of take that pressure? So when people say ki, because of the societal pressures, we are not able to do this, we are not able to do that, or if I fail, what will people say? What maximum can they say? I mean, you are the most important person in your life and you have a goal
True.
and it is something that you're giving your life to. So 2 minute table conversation should not really affect or decide or kind of mold you towards achieving what you really want to. And before anything
True.
says anything to you, just ask them what is it that you have done to kind of have the liberty to say anything to me. If the person,
True.
that's
True.
exactly what I'm saying, with again, with due respect to every profession, everybody, if a person who's never started up, would come and tell me that, okay, this is something that cannot be done. I'm sorry, but you don't hold the right expertise to be telling me that. It's better that I take advice from somebody who's been through that, failed, and then I kind of
True.
understand and learn from everybody's journey, because everybody has something to teach you one day or the other. So all this societal pressure, to be very honest, for me is irrelevant. I can say it with utmost confidence after seeing a lot of it. But when you're in college or when you're in that space, it's not that easy. Anybody can say कि यार आप तो
True.
कैमरा में बोल रहे हो, हमें पता है ना हमें क्या सुनना पड़ता है, हमें पता है ना लोग क्या बोलते हैं, तो आपको नहीं पता. I know it because I've been into that space. And trust me, the biggest mistake that I did in my college years was to listen to those advices that were irrelevant. And when I kind of got the confidence ki chodo usse, let me see what is it that I want to do, that is when I was more happy, more satisfied with my life. And I was like, okay, I'm more clear onto what is it that I want to do. So just leave the societal pressure. Societal pressure, I would say, is as big as you allow it to be. I personally feel so, because
True.
nobody is going to, take your responsibility of I mean, they'll say and they'll go, yeah. I mean, why do you have to get so much affected? So you have to kind of teach yourself to stay independent of whatever whosoever is saying. And Jay,
True.
we are still in the process of discovering ourselves. Just imagine about big celebrities or people, the ultimate tycoons. People talk random shit about them, but who cares? Do they even care? They don't, right? Because they're pretty much clear as to what is it that they want to do. So I think
True.
what's more important is that you are clear on what you want to do, you're happy, you're doing what you want to, and that's it. I don't think societal pressure for me is totally abrupt. I don't believe in this concept. And if anybody has the guts to say anything, so say it on my face, and then I have good answers for you. And I think that's the confidence that all of us young people should have.
True.
Because if we don't have that self belief, people would say any random shit that can actually crack your confidence and can be a major hurdle in the process of you discovering your journey and yourself. So I think that's what at least I feel
True.
about this.
True, 100%. And also one more thing which I want to add is, like, for example, अगर आपके दोस्त कुछ बोल भी रहे हैं आपको, so just think for the longer run कि कितने टाइम तक वो इंसान आपके साथ रहने वाला या रहने वाली है. Because with you, the constant people are your family and your close ones, not the
True.
friends which you've met in college, not the people who are actually thinking that you won't be able to do. Because people who think that you won't be able to do might not understand you, and the people who do not understand you will never be in your life for a longer run. And the people who are never going to be in your life for a longer run, why would you care about them?
True, that happens. That happens in everybody's journey. Because when at 15, 16, I was in my 10th standard, and I used to tell people, class में सबसे पूछते हैं ना that what is it that you want to be. So I used to say बड़ा आदमी, and everybody used to laugh at it. Nobody kind of believed in it. And my friends used to laugh that कौन सी हवा में रहती है? What do you think of yourself? You are not a billionaire's daughter, this and that. So that's fine. People will laugh at you, and it doesn't matter as long as you know what you want to do. It's totally fine. And even if you fail at it, at least you tried. So I think that in itself,
True.
and trying and failing is much better than kind of sitting and regretting. So even if people
True.
stay, they don't stay. A lot of times, Jay, it's not just about your friends, but your family. Your parents also don't support you at a lot of decisions. And at that point of time, you have to kind of rely on your conviction and be clear on why is it that you want to do. So it all boils down to your purpose and how serious you are towards it. So of course, I
True.
agree to it.
True, and like talking about this parents, I in earlier my podcast, one of my mentor, Mr. Abhijit Pradhan, came and we had a similar question on him when we were discussing about careers. That if we want to pursue an XYZ kind of career, and if parents are not allowing, what can we do? He said that before convincing anyone, including parents and society, just ask few layers of why question to yourself. Like, for example, when I talk about engineering, let's say, because we both have given JEE exam, it's like when a child thinks that, okay, I want to become an IIT and I want to go to IIT, and he's like, okay, that's great, but why do you want to go to IIT first? Second, for example, let's say because I want to solve a problem. Uh, what kind of problem do you want to solve? Then the person starts exploring. It is not that you will answer all your whys in one day and one night when you sit. It is the process. And with this process of asking whys to yourself, you will become much more clear on exactly what you want to do. And when you are clear of exactly what you want to do, there are more chances that you can convince the closed one who are important in your life, because what they majorly want is nothing but you to be very clear and very successful in your career, whichever path you are selecting for yourself. And if you show that clearness, if you show that clarity to them by being more clear with yourself, you increase the number of chances, and then you can discover more paths. It is not like what society is saying, the path which society follows. You may discover your own path, which is much more safer, much more reliant, and much more faster than what regular people are going through. And there you can again increase your chances.
Very true, Jay. Just to add to this, when you use GPS and when you know what the destination is, there's a fixed path, and irrespective of whatever happens on the road, you reach your path. So specifically, it all boils down to why, as you've very correctly said. But a lot of times, what happens is that when you're young, especially, and you won't get the answers of all this why. So
True.
I was at one of these universities where I was talking about that motivation is not real, and
Mm.
it is just a fooling mechanism. It's a sugar
True.
candy that we all get, and most of the people, they ask me this question, that why don't we feel motivated all the time? Because as human beings, you cannot feel motivated all the time. Then the
Mm.
question is, then what's the difference between the people who are able to do it, because they're also humans, they won't feel motivated all the
Mm.
time, and why are the some people who kind of quit? And the reason is because they're not motivated, they're inspired, and the whole source and the root cause of inspiration
Mm.
is the purpose, the why.
Mm.
All of us get a life. We wake up one morning, we open our eyes, and why does that happen? And that is because, and
Mm.
I strongly believe into this, not because I'm a spiritual person, but I strongly believe that anybody who's got a life has a special purpose for that. There is a
True.
reason that you've got this life, and there's a reason, and there's a specific work for all of us. So it all boils down to why. And when people say that, despite all these struggles, why don't you quit? Is because I'm clear that I am here to kind of make impact through my work, and that is exactly what my purpose is. So similarly, I have my purpose, you have your purpose, everybody have their own purpose. And when you kind of identify that why, the journey kind of becomes easier, at least for you. Then
Mm.
what society says, what your parents say, what your friends say, it doesn't really leave that kind of impact. But a lot of
True.
times at young age, we are not able to do that introspection. Nobody
Mm.
sits, meditates, and it's not practical. So people like, हमें practically बताओ ना क्या करें. If parents are not
Mm.
agreeing, तो what do we do? We can't sit and introspect. So only solution to
True.
that is that before you convince them, do what they're saying, because minimum graduation, post grad, you have to do something or the other,
Mm.
right? And that's what I did. I never wanted to go to a college, but my parents had these unrealistic academic, expectations from me. So what I did is I got myself enrolled into a college, and simultaneously I started working on it. And as and when you bring in the results, parents would also get convinced, because at the end they want
True.
the best for their child. No parent would want their kid to be hanging around and doing something irrelevant. So that's the reason. It's just their care and concern.
True.
So practically, if you really don't want to go into that introspection of why, just agree and accept to what they're doing, and thoda kam time waste kar lo. Watch lesser number of movies. Don't waste that much of time, and use that
True.
time and number of hours productively to be able to kind of make that full time.
Mm.
So that's
True.
what my take is. And as you've correctly said, it all boils down to purpose. But we'll not get deeper into it, because then it's going to get extended for 2 hours. We won't do
Yeah,
that.
sure. So like when we think about how to practically explore, understand what is the purpose, the better answer to it in practical world is explore. And like you rightly said that,
Exactly.
yeah, explore, experiment, and as you rightly said, you need to also understand the trade-offs of real life, because
True.
you do not want to just go away and just face your back to the people who actually care for you, because that will be one of the most unrealistic actions you might take. So it's better
And
that
that
you
is also
understand.
possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
not possible. You
true.
can't leave your house at 18, 19. You can't do that, right? If you fight with your parents and you don't do what they do, it's their house. And as long as you're not independent, you can't go ahead and say that, okay, this is what I want
True.
to do. So the practicality is that you have to kind of have something sustainable on the table. Don't become a
Hmm.
yogi on day one. Have something sustainable on the table while you're pursuing your engineering. Start exploring and experimenting, because that's the only practical way out to find the purpose.
Hmm.
Because today is not the era,
True.
especially at young age, where you sit, you introspect. Somebody's going to come in your dream and tell you what is it that you're meant to do. It won't happen that way.
True.
So being into the spiritual sense, but we can't really forget the practical aspects of it. It happens.
True.
I go, I talk about all of this, and then all the young people have their questions. Ma'am, ye kaise kare? Par ye kaise ho? Aise kaise hoga? So we have to kind of keep a balance between the two. That's what I feel.
True, 100%. And talking about exploration, like many people do tell me that how to explore. Like I'm interested in multiple things. Like as you said, you were initially interested in social entrepreneurship, then now you are interested in space mining and esports. So like everyone has multiple interests. It is not like anyone has just one single interest and they go forward with it. So everyone has multiple interests in multiple stages of life. So how can one understand? So like I also want to know your perspective in it. Like what I personally suggest to them is explore by giving what would I say, a fixed amount of time in your day. Explore it by understanding the technicalities which will come ahead while going for it with your 100%. So when you understand the technicalities, and when you understand and when you like the technicalities, that I'm interested in pursuing these technicalities and want to include them in the process, because I ultimately love the process which includes these technicalities, major, minor, whatever which is there. So, what would you suggest to the similar kind of problem?
Yes, I think when we talk about experimentation, it's more important to understand till what time, for how
Mm,
long, and we kind of have to kind of come up with these questions. So, we have to kind of generalize it. When I say that, and you were saying, so it's not that I was interested in esports one day and then space mining. It's not that way. So I was clear on that. Okay, so while I was starting Kilkari, I understood few things about me, that people listen to me. I know how to make people work. I can raise funds. I am a good manager. So I kind of initially understood that what works for me. Similarly, Jay, all of us who's trying to experiment different things, सबसे पहले तो you have to see what are the things that work for you, because somebody would say that I want
mm,
to work at Google, but the actual reality of that person is that he or she can't listen to anybody ordering him or her. So in that phase, if
mm,
you're not in a space where you can't listen to your boss or to employees, or you are somebody who's way too sensitive about your individuality that I won't listen to anybody, forget that dream. So
mm,
initially, the first thing that everybody has to do is know who you are and what are the things that
mm,
work for you. Second, know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, because that is also
mm,
very, very important. I know that I am not somebody who can listen to a director as an actor. I would be a director and not an actor. I don't know if that made a lot of
yeah.
sense,
That
but
that's
I am somebody who can be at a place where I can kind of tell and help people as to how things can be done. But if somebody directs me something, I'm not an actor. So in that
mm,
sense, I understood very early in life that I will anyhow not be able to fit into a corporate job or anything, even if so. I've done my actuarial science as well. So that's again a different concept, but it's just a professional course. And after my graduation, I got a great package, a brilliant package, and anybody could have gone it. But I said a no to it because I knew I'll work for 5 days, and then I'll resign, because I've learned few things about myself, and that is when. Uh, so yeah, so initially is know what works for you, because there are plenty of opportunities. Second, know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. All these exercises will kind of anyhow help you to streamline the career options. Third, now ask
true.
yourself what you're interested. What is it that you can do the entire day, and even if you're not paid for it, that will be totally fine. List that down. All these activities will actually help you to streamline among the billions of opportunities that you see in front of us. And by the time you're on the third step, fourth step, like आप समझ ही जाओगे that okay, these are the 3, 4, or maybe maximum 5 things that might work for me. So let me go and experiment. Right now you're in college. I understand engineering, all of this. I'm very happy I didn't do it, because I know kitna padna padta hai. So I know all of it. But still, you have that much time, right? Anyhow, semesters ke ek hafte pehle padna hota hai. So you have good 6 months, 5 months. Experiment, do as many internships as you can. Look at the videos, see what excites you, and all of this space will anyhow kind of help you streamline. And in the end, you'll be left with one or two things, and ultimately you will be able to decide, okay, this is what works for me, and this is what I want to do. This is how practical you can kind of go ahead and decide. If I lay a structure, if I kind of tell you using a chart, it won't work. But practically, this is how things is. So most importantly, know yourself, know what your strengths, weaknesses are, what you think would work for you, And at the end, there would be nobody who would have 20 options. Everybody would be left with 4 or 5 options. And experimenting within that won't be a major issue. And as long as you're young and you're in college and you're just studying, you don't have any pressures, right? So do it. Who's stopping you? Just use your time wisely, and you don't know, you might find that one thing that you want to do. At least that's what worked for me.
True, true.
And I think that that's what worked for most of us.
True, 100%. It's like when people say, when elders say that what you have right now in young age is not what most important thing at a young age you have is not money, not anything, is the time which you have.
Right.
And like you said it very perfectly, that how utilization of time helps you get all the major things in place to understand what exactly you are and what purpose defines you and what drives you.
True. The biggest asset that young people have is time.
True,
So just use it well and you will be halfway there. That's what I feel.
true, 100%. So, how was this podcast overall, and what are the five major learnings which you can tell to any young entrepreneur who is thinking to start their journey in entrepreneurship, or even in their general lives?
So this podcast, Jay, didn't feel like a podcast. It felt as if I'm video calling a friend and I'm just talking what I have to. And so, so were the answers from your end. So it went really authentic, and it didn't felt as if, it's a question and then it's being answered. So it always feels good. As I've already said in the beginning, that I'm very happy with the kind of work you're doing. And I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying it, but I genuinely feel it. Whenever young people, and especially the people after not clearing IIT exam, just kidding. So whenever young people kind of go ahead and do something different versus what they're expected to do, it makes me really, really happy. So kudos to the amazing work that you're doing, and I'm happy to be a
Thank you
part of
so
it.
much.
Coming to the second question, as in what are the 5 things that I would advise young entrepreneurs? So I'll just boil it down to one and then 4 other complement things that I'll say. So the
Sure.
only advice for young entrepreneurs is anybody who is still in the confusion of should I do it, should I not do it? The only advice is just go ahead and do it. Don't think
Mm,
about it. Trust me, right now you have nothing to lose. All you can do is gain either experience, failure, skills. There are plenty of things that you have
mm,
to earn and nothing to lose. So don't be into that confusion. Don't waste more time into self-doubting yourself, and kind of still seeing that, okay, should I do it? Should I not do it? What will people say? Society say? Don't think all of that is crap. Trust me. Just go out and do it. And that is what I tell young entrepreneurs all the time. Don't expect me to tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. You have an idea, you want to experiment, go out and do it. I started with just helping and admitting one kid to a school, and I didn't know Kilkari would explode the way it has. Today we are operational in 18 pathshalas. Nobody would have thought. But if I would have gone with the thought of day one, ki nahi, main to itne schools khulungi, that would have never happened. So just go out and do it. Just do it, I would say. You have nothing to lose. You don't have billions of property that you will use. Even if you kind of, sleep 2 hours less, nothing would happen. So the only advice is don't be into that confusion. Just go out and do it, and don't doubt yourself. And the other 4 complementary things for entrepreneurs, number one is that yes, use your time wisely. We have already talked about that. Second is that before you kind of go ahead and get serious about an idea, please know that you're solving a real time problem. You have to know that what you're solving, why has it not been solved before? Have there not been entrepreneurs
mm,
before you? Have there not been people who have kind of encountered same problem? So make sure that you solve a real time problem, because Jay, the unfortunate part is most of the times a lot of students spend a lot of time, 1, 2, 3 years, into solving a problem that they realize is actually not a problem as per their customer. So as soon as you
mm,
identify a problem or an idea, for me it's one of the same things. As long as you identify that idea, go out and talk to people. Just ask them if that's a
mhm,
relevant problem for them as well or not. Talk to your potential customers.
mhm,
So identify a real time problem would be my second suggestion. Third, I would say is that don't get disheartened when you hear no's or rejections, because entrepreneurship is an ultimate journey of listening to thousands no and then coming to that final yes.
mm,
A lot of people might not believe in your idea. They might make fun of you. They might mock you, saying that don't think you're this, that. The investors might not support you. So don't get disheartened by that. If you've done the initial homework right and you understand the problem and you believe in that idea and the product, just go for it. You will anyhow listen to no. So that's technically the fourth suggestion, that don't get disheartened by the no's. And the fifth suggestion for young entrepreneurs is that it's okay not to become the biggest at your very first idea. That happen only in movies. So it doesn't
Mhm.
happen that you wake up one day, you go execute an idea, and then boom, you're Mark Zuckerberg. It doesn't happen. So don't have unrealistic expectations. So it's okay to fail, and I think that has pretty much been, talked about in the previous
Mm.
aspects also. And one of the most important advice for young entrepreneurs is, I was about to say it, but I think we've kind of covered it. Know your why. I think it's very, very important to
Mm.
know that why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Because I'll tell you about this 1,000 day startup rule that we have. If you're ready not to earn a single penny for 1,000 days, that is when get into entrepreneurship. Trust me, Jay, entrepreneurship looks really fancy from the outside.
Mm.
Magazines, coverage, interviews, billions, yacht, private jet. It's not that.
True.
Know what the reality of entrepreneurship. It's very, very sacrificing. If you kind of pass all those hurdles and you reach the end goal, that is when the outcome is this. But if you intend to enter entrepreneurship assuming that okay, I'll get famous and rich, it won't happen on first day. So please be sure that why do you want to be an entrepreneur? And if you really want to kind of impact and change, bring in changes through a solution, that is when think of being an entrepreneur. So have that introspection ready, and that is when jump into this entire pool of entrepreneurship, which looks very fancy from the outside, but the reality is very, very sacrificing. It's as good as getting into a JE or an entrance examination, because I remember the 2 years coaching that we had. After school, you get into those 8 hours of coaching, and it's so sacrificing. I don't know if you took it, but at least I took it. I won't name the institute. They looted me the kind of money. And in the end, I was not even able to clear the basics of examination. So getting into entrepreneurship is as good as signing an invisible contract with your life that you won't have a life. So it's actually that sacrificing. So if you're ready for all of that, just go for it. Don't
Wow.
think left, right, center. Just jump into it. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. I'm sure many more young entrepreneurs will hear this, watch this, and they might become one of the most successful entrepreneurs of our country.
I just hope wishes, because this country actually needs more entrepreneurs now.
Yeah,
And we need more girls also. So, girls, if you're listening to
true.
this, please get into it, because I'm just too tired being surrounded by men all the time. So, it's time that, we see women also excelling into the field. But no, all the very
True,
best to all the
100%.
young people who are listening to it. And I just hope more people kind of believe in themselves and come out and solve some real time problems. Yeah.
100%, 100%. And thank you so much for coming on this podcast and sharing your valuable ideas and sharing your valuable story, which can bring a lot of changes in a person's life individually and overall as well. So it's an honor and pleasure to have you on the show, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your ideas and mindset to us.
Thank you so much, Jay. It was an absolute honor. And I've anyhow praised you a lot of times. I won't end up doing that again, because then people would think that you've paid me for doing that. So it's been an absolute honor for having me. And kudos to the great work you're doing. All the very
Thank
best.
you so much.
And I wish you a lot of success in life going further. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.